And in the Impact segment tonight, politicizing the mass murder in Arizona. We continue our reporting. Joining us now from Washington, Democrat Alicia Menendez, in for Alan Colmes this evening. Here in the studio, Dr. Monica Crowley. All right. Look, the 2 points I was trying to make, and I think I made them, were that politics and law enforcement shouldn't mix. All right. The man has a job to do, and as a prosecutor, he's actually not prosecuting. It's a federal case. But as Arpaio pointed out, the defense could use some of his statements trying to defend the psychopath.
Sure.
And the second thing is he's selective. I mean, Arpaio is getting death threats all day long. I am. I never heard Dupnik say anything about that.
Right.
So you say?
Yeah. Look, he's got 2 jobs to do as the sheriff of Pima County. One is to dispassionately collect evidence and facts with regard to any case, this one included. And the second part of his job is to enforce the law. If he wants to be a political pundit, quit being a sheriff and go be a pundit. He has absolutely no place. He's got no position. This is so beyond the scope of his job description. To go out there in public and start prejudging the facts, putting his own political spin on what he thinks
I've
may
never
have
seen
occurred.
it before to that extent, Alicia. I've never seen a law enforcement person do that as blatantly as the sheriff has done it. So what do you think?
Oh, I've said from the beginning that I don't think there's any role for politics in this, and I think when we start having this left-right discussion, it cuts people out of what is a very important conversation. So I don't like the turn he's made on this, but he does have a right to an opinion. He is the only one among us who is on the ground in Arizona, and so I think his perspective in that regard is worthwhile.
Well, you know, if you can't back up your perspective, as he couldn't with Megyn Kelly, because she and Megyn said, all right, what do you have to back up your assertion that right-wing rhetoric may have inflamed this killer? And he doesn't say, well, I don't have anything. It's my opinion. Come on, that's irresponsible.
But Bill, and I agree with you, but let's also just be realistic and connect the dots. We had the assassination of a federal government official.
Yeah.
We have a branch of the Republican Party that is extremely against the federal government, that's extremely against anyone who works for the federal government. And while that is not responsible, we have to contextualize what has happened in the scope of our national conversation. And that is, for sure, a fringe part of it.
Yeah, but that's not his job to do. Okay.
No, I have no argument about that.
In fact, it's nobody's job to do, especially in the early stages of an investigation like this. And this guy is supposed to be one of the main law enforcement guys leading the investigation on this. And he's out there in public shooting his mouth, prejudging facts when he has no evidence. He's got nothing to back it up.
No, I think
it's completely outrageous.
It's
and by the way, he's got to stand for re-election. The people of Pima County will judge him based on this. He might lose re-election for sheriff.
Well, we'll see. Now, what about the selective indignation of the sheriff, Alicia? I mean, Arpaio, we know that. He has death threats all day long, and they're not coming from the Tea Party, okay? Tea Party's not gunning for Arpaio. Sheriff Palin, Michelle Bachwin, Glenn Beck, me, we're not giving him a hard time, okay? So we know where it's coming from. But Dupnik doesn't say anything about it. Doesn't that strike you? It makes me queasy. If you're going to condemn this kind of rhetoric, do it on all fronts. Don't single out the right wing. It's insane.
But I think that what he was trying to do was draw a connection between this aim at the federal government at an assassination of a federally elected official and that rhetoric. I mean, that's where the connection lies. And the bottom line is there was action here. That's what makes it scary. You and I know there's a big difference between a threat and someone actually acting on it. And we all, because we have a public platform, we get this nonsense all the time. But this is different.
Look. There is no connection between the Tea Party or any other right-wing group and
so
violence.
You think
There's
that
no
that
connection
rhetoric has nothing to do with this?
No, I think that the man is here's what I think. The man is a zealot. He is a zealot, all right? He is using and abusing his position as a sheriff, all right, to spout his political point of view, all right? And 2 downsides. Number 1, he ignites this whole thing, because he did. And number 2, he obscures the investigation. He obscures it. And I think it's wrong on both counts.
So, so then, Bill, why are we sitting here talking about him instead of
talking
about what we do to move forward?
Because we want to neutralize people like him.
So he makes you nervous.
He doesn't make me nervous.
If there's
he makes me angry.
legit about what he's saying, then why is he making you nervous?
Our job here at The Factor, Alicia, as you know, is to spotlight people who are harming the country. And I think Dupnik is harming the country.
I think there are a lot of people harming
the
country much greater than this guy.
Well, maybe so. But that doesn't mean we ignore Dupnik in context of a major story.
But you might have more influence over some of those other people.
All right. Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State. She's in the Persian Gulf, all right? She talks about this case. Roll the tape.
We have extremists in my country. A wonderful, incredibly brave young woman Congress member, Congresswoman Giffords, was just shot by an extremist in our country. We have the same kinds of problems. So rather than standing off from each other, we should work to try to prevent the extremists anywhere from being able to commit violence.
All right, so you have a beef with that?
This was one of the most outrageous statements I've ever heard from United States Secretary of State on foreign soil. Not only that, in an Arab country, drawing a moral or any other kind of equivalence between a lone psychopath who shot up a Safeway in Tucson, Arizona, with Islamic terrorists who are operating as part of a global Islamic jihadi movement, attacking and targeting American citizens and Westerners and fellow Muslims all across the globe as part of a Quranic command to kill the infidel. That kind of equivalence has no place in the American conversation and certainly should not be coming out of the mouth of the woman who was supposed to be tending to our diplomatic relations.
Alicia?
Dr. Crowley, give me a break. I think what she is trying to say here is that in every society you have people who do not speak for the full society. You're right. This was a wacko. This is someone who's so far out there, and he is separate from our society. I think to draw the parallel of the fact that we have American terrorists here at home as well as we have extremists abroad is actually a very healthy and productive conversation.
Mr. Loeffner is not a terrorist.
He is a mass terror on the United States.
He is a mass murderer who committed a horrific crime.
Were you terrorized?
Alicia, acts of crime in this country are different than acts of war. That's what Islamic terrorists carry out against American citizens.
And I can tell you, I felt terrorized.
They carry out acts of war.
Okay. Ladies, very interesting. I want people to make up their own mind about Hillary Clinton. You can go either way on it, I think. Directly ahead, John.